All right, so today's video is going to cover surface area. So the only thing that I want you to think about when we're talking about surface area, we've actually covered composite area already this year, okay? So when we're talking about surface area, it really is just finding the area of a composite figure. So you're gonna see some things that look like composite figures. You can probably see one right here. The only difference is that these composite figures, they fold up into a 3D figure. So this is the net. So it's an arrangement of 2D figures that can be folded into a 3D figure. So this net would actually fold into a triangular prism. So that is really the big difference between surface area and composite area. A lot of times with composite area, we just have figures that aren't necessarily something that would fold up into anything else. But these, when we're working with surface area, it's always a 3D figure that has been flattened out. So let's talk about what total surface area is. In total, you're gonna see that word, that's gonna mean all. So absolutely, when you think total, think all of it. So total surface area is the sum, which means we're gonna add some things together, the sum of the area of the faces, surfaces of a three-dimensional figure. So total surface area, you're going to add together, this word sum means add together all of the areas. So we're gonna do that first. Lateral surface area, it sounds very similar. It's the sum of the area of the lateral faces. So it's only the faces. So we're gonna leave out the bases when we're doing lateral surface area. So I want you to put no bases. So lateral starts with an L. I like things that kind of help us to remember. So lateral, starting with an L, leave out the bases. Lateral, you leave them out. Total, we know that the word total is gonna be all. It's gonna be a sum, so that should be pretty straightforward. So let's just kind of dive in here to this figure. Again, we already said this is a triangular prism, so we're gonna start with total surface area. Because really, if we're looking at it as a composite figure, that means we're just gonna take the area of each piece and then we're gonna put it all together. So let's talk through what shapes we have. If this is a triangular prism, we know that because both of these bases are triangles. The other things are rectangles, and those would be your faces. So that's gonna be important when we get to lateral, but right now we're just gonna start with total. So the very first thing that I see is this rectangle here. So we're going to find the area of this rectangle. A equals BH, we write our formula, and we fill in the information. So the base of this rectangle is gonna be 6, and the height of this rectangle is gonna be 12. And we know that 6 times 12 is 72. So if you remember anything from class, you know that once we find the area of a certain figure, we write it inside the figure. So I'm gonna write this really large here. And also you can kind of see if this is 12 and this right here was also 6, we know that because these sides of this triangle are congruent, this would have to be 72 as well. We have to be really careful. This middle rectangle is not gonna be 72. This base is 6, but if you can see this right here, this base is not 6, so we're gonna have to do that one separately. It's still a rectangle, so it's gonna be A equals BH. The difference here, the base of this rectangle is 5. The height is still 12. So the area of this rectangle would be 60. Again, I'm gonna write 60 right here. Okay, so the only other thing that we have to do now is find the area of these triangles, and they are congruent. So if we find the area of one, we will have found what we need for both of them. So formula for the area of a triangle, 1/2 base times height. We write our formula and we fill it in. So the base of this triangle is 5, so 1/2 of 5 times the height, which always has to meet the base at a right angle, so we know the height is 5.5. We're going to go ahead and use our calculator. 5 times 5.5, which is what order of operations we would do next, is 27.5. And to find half of 27.5, we would divide that by 2, which is going to be 13.75. That means this is 13.75, and this is also 13.75. All right, so now if we're trying to find total surface area, let's look back at what that says. The sum of the area of the faces or surfaces. So faces or surfaces, it's going to be all. So total surface area, we want all of the faces and the bases. So let's add these together. We've got 72, 60, and 72. Those are whole numbers, so we'll do that first. That's 4. 7 and 7 is 14, plus another 6 is 20. So we've got 204 here. And that would be this shaded area right here. That 204 does not include those yellow bases. For total, we do want to put the bases in there. So I want to kind of show you a little trick here. 13.75 is one of our triangles. But before we cut that in half, we had 27.5. So that means that both of these together is actually 27.5. So let's add in 27.5 represents both of our bases. Got to line up our decimals here. So we've got a 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's a 3, and that's a 2. So 231.5, and it is area, so it's going to be centimeters squared, would be our total surface area for this specific problem. Okay, so let's take a look though at the lateral surface area here. So if we were to do lateral, and remember, lateral means no bases. That means we don't want the bases. So if we're taking the lateral surface area, we do not want these yellow triangles there because those are our bases. So that's going to be the 72, the 60, and the 72. And we actually already did that over here. That would be 204 centimeters squared. So for me, total means all of it together. Lateral means to leave out the bases. So lateral would literally just be those 3 rectangles. Okay? All right, let's go to this bottom example. This one obviously has one base, and this one would fold up into this right here is a square. So this would be a square pyramid. We know that it's a pyramid because it only has one base and it has triangles for all of its faces. That's kind of what tells us that this is going to be a pyramid. So let's do total first. Remember, total just means all. So if we're finding the total surface area here, that means that we want to, let's go ahead and find the area of this base. The base is a square, so we can use the rectangle formula. A equals BH. The base of this square is 6. The height of this square is 6. So the area of this square, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight it since we've been highlighting bases all here. So this is our square base. So the area of our square base is 36. Okay, so let's do the faces. And all of these sides are congruent, so that means that all of these triangles are also congruent. That makes our job a little bit easier. So that means we can just use our triangle formula one time, and then we'll have all of the information that we need. So A equals 1/2. The base of these triangles is 6 centimeters. The height of these triangles are 7 centimeters, and now we just follow order of operations. So 1/2, 6 times 7 is 42. Half of 42, we can probably do that in our mind with our mental math. Half of 42 is 21. So that means this triangle is 21, this one's 21, this one's 21, and this one's 21. So if we're looking for total, which is all, we need the 36, but we need 4 of these triangles. So I'm gonna go ahead and multiply that times 4. That would be 4, and that would be an 8. So total, we would take the 36, which is our yellow base. We would take the 84, which is all of the faces. So I'm gonna put base, faces. When we add these together, we get 120 centimeters squared. So our total surface area would be 120 centimeters squared. Really quickly, we already have all the information that we need to be able to do our lateral. So let's do that real quick. Lateral means no bases. So if we are only finding the area of all of these triangular faces, each one of them is 21. There's 4 of them. So our lateral surface area would be 84 centimeters squared. Remember, with lateral, you are not including the base. So I would only be adding up all of the triangles. Same situation up here, let's review. Total surface area is gonna be all. Lateral surface area is going to be just the sum of the faces, which includes none of the bases. So lateral, you leave out the bases. Good luck.